Hi, I'm Valerie Davis, CEO of Assembly North America, and I'm here at the Possible Conference in sunny Miami Beach. And I'm here with Marla Kaplowitz of the 4A's, an organization that everyone should be subscribing to.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Be a member.
So, Marla, tell us a little bit about yourself and what the 4A's organization is and the benefits that you provide members.
Sure. I spent 30 years on the agency side, both full service and media agency. My last role as CEO, I was recognizing that there was an opportunity to take my passion for the agency community and push it out more broadly, and the 4A's opportunity came up 7 years ago. And I am so honored to represent the agencies, to be part of the 4A's, because our role is to really help agencies grow, thrive, and address the ever-changing complexities of the landscape. And happily for all of us, it keeps us very intrigued because there's always something new on the horizon to address.
Intrigued, on our toes, and post-COVID, it just seems like the ever-changing is even faster than it's ever been.
Yes.
Yeah.
The velocity is not slowing down,
No.
and my new favorite saying is, today is the slowest it will ever be.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to steal it, if that's okay.
Yes.
All right, so what brings you here to Possible? What are you hoping to get out of this conference?
Connection, inspiration, a little provocation, thinking about things differently. I always appreciate getting outside of the everyday and getting a new perspective. And I do think it's important to take things in. We get a little too mired sometimes in our day roles, and it doesn't give us enough opportunity to really stop and reflect and think about what we should be doing next.
Awesome. As an agency, where we are always pitching, and I know that we always turn to 4A's for inspiration, case studies, ideas, even like salary ranges. Like there's so much that 4A's has to offer. The pitch process has been getting more and more intense, and the investment that goes into it is more and more intense. And I know that both agencies and clients, I'm just curious about what the 4A's is hearing on both sides of the fence.
I'm so glad you're raising this because this is one of our main areas of focus right now and has been for the past couple of years. So we've been partnering with the ANA to really address what we call agency search simplification. It's gotten far too complex, especially for media agencies with the number of meetings, and you have to have a separate meeting for data, and just constantly no remuneration as it relates to the amount of time and resources you're putting into it. So we really started out by saying, can we have a simplified, unified RFI template? We are working on that right now. There's a joint task force between the 4A's and the ANA. But last year we published phase 1 of our cost of the pitch study, and that finally revealed the actual costs that not just agencies were paying, but that marketers were paying. And we not only looked at marketers, we looked at procurement people and agency relations. And what we found was that cost and price was the number one factor for putting an account up for review, which is rather frustrating because on the other hand, they're also saying that value and a long-term relationship is important. So we are currently doing phase 2 of this study to probe deeper on those two areas, and we'll be publishing that in early May and continuing to address the opportunities. But we need to get to a new way of working. I'm thrilled that agencies can now leverage Gen AI tools and databases to actually process RFIs faster, but that isn't taking away from the need to get that work done, the amount of resources. I mean, most agencies are spending over $400,000 on an average pitch if it's an incumbent pitch, and again, that's an average.
Yeah.
$200,000 if it's a new to the world. A marketer is spending $400,000 if it's a new to the world pitch, and about $200,000+ if it's an incumbent. So you just think of the time, the lost productivity, the impact to the business, and there's such an opportunity. And we're also starting to uncover a really interesting point about continuity and relationships. So we're seeing this in some award areas. And so we're going to start to probe more on. I'm not going to.
You
I'm going
almost
to tease
gave it up.
Well, I'll just tease that we're seeing that agencies and clients that have longer partnerships win more awards because the work is stronger and it delivers better business results. agencies and clients that have newer relationships apply for more awards, but they don't have the same rate of conversion. So the
Fascinating.
problem we have right now is the average duration of an agency-client partnership is 3.2 years. That's based on an R3 study from 2018. We are doing a new study this summer to understand, has that changed? Interestingly, it ties very closely to CMO tenure, which is a problem.
Yeah.
And if we can show that it's better to stay in relationships longer, doesn't mean you have to do a full-blown pitch, but you could have a relationship review. You should always be checking in and having conversations about how to improve the partnership, but it doesn't mean you have to constantly make change, because you're going backwards every time you do that, and you're spending a lot of money.
Yeah, and like the bigger clients often will trigger a review, a procurement review at 3 and 5 years,
Yes.
3 or 5 years, which is why I wonder if that average also ties to your point. CMO tenures are between 1 and 3 years,
Well,
and then
here's the interesting thing in the study. We found that 2/3 tended to stay with the incumbent agency. Now, we
Wow.
believe a lot of that is probably non-search consultant-led, but why are you going through all of that trouble
yes.
if you're going to retain the same agency? Why not just have a relationship review or a conversation?
I couldn't agree more. And you said something that really piqued my interest about how agencies and clients who have long-term relationships win more awards and do better work. And I think that's what the agencies and clients alike feel is the Achilles heel to a relationship, that you get lazy or you get stagnant. So the fact that you're uncovering insights that actually argue against or challenge that is very interesting to me. And I know as a media agency, we are very passionate about making sure that our teams are trying to stay innovative, and we work with the 4A's. We work with several of our partners, our media partners, to make sure that we're staying on top of what's next. So I just find that fascinating. Yes, the pitch process definitely is something that, as CEO of an agency, we're doing so much of it, especially right in this moment, this time. And the one thing that has remained the same is the pitch process. Isn't that crazy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've
so crazy.
reinvented so many other aspects of the way we work, and yet we've made that even more cumbersome.
Yeah. If you can outline the top 3 things that you feel the 4A's can bring to a member, what would those top 3 things be?
Oh, I like that. So I would say, number 1, we're going to give you connection to community, and that gives you knowledge, an understanding of what others are doing, how they're leveraging, whether it's technology, talent issues. That's so important to every agency right now. How they're thinking about leveraging Gen AI. We're doing a study right now with Forrester on how agencies are deploying that in the variety of ways. So really that community and that knowledge. The second is advocacy. And advocacy is so underrated in my book. You need someone who's really looking out for agencies, who understands the nuances, whether that's in Washington, D.C., and making sure that advertising remains fully tax deductible as a perishable asset, helping to understand the nuances of state laws as it relates to data privacy, labor laws that continue to change, sustainability and the changes happening there. It's so critical. And then I would say talent is another aspect, whether it's making sure that you have connections to our Learning Institute and all of the different training that we offer, or our foundation, where we have so many different programs that are really supporting multicultural youth and bringing around greater diversity within our industry and really helping to drive that change. I could go on and on and on, but I think if you just start there, you start to get a piece of it. Our goal is, how do we help members with their business not just grow, but really thrive? And that knowledge base, whether it's surveys, research, whatever we can do, we look at it as we can give you the equivalent of, for essentially the cost of one employee, a Swiss Army knife of someone who can do everything you need within an agency and connect across all the different departments you have.
Amazing, and I agree. I mean, we access your case studies all the time, and there's just so much. There's so much there, and it's almost like overwhelming, but also in a good way. So just making sure that you activate the right teams, getting the right assets.
Well, thank you for being a fan.
Oh yes. What do you think marketers should be thinking about today?
Well, that is the problem. Why are we always so focused on the short term? I think marketers are too focused on the short term and they don't look enough at the long term. They're always focused on the immediate gratification. They're not thinking about how to focus on longevity with programs, campaigns. Everything is so fleeting right now. It's even with relationships with agencies.
Yeah.
So how do we shift that dynamic? How do we start looking at measurement over a longer period of time? How do we understand what we're doing today impacts not just 3 months from now, but 3 years from now? I think we're going to really start seeing very soon the impact of marketers pulling back spend in the past year and the need for more flexibility, which really was around concern about the economy. And you're going to start to see that impact as it relates to the consumer sentiment and their connection to those brands.
So it's almost like what's old is new again, because back in the day, that's what it was all about, is building that relationship. And now there's an easier way to build that relationship, and it's just being able to not be so quick. Because if you're not seeing the immediate gratification of the results, all that investment that you put in there may not turn because you've pulled away from it.
We are so hyper-focused on data, and we have the most incredible access to information on a daily, hourly. I mean, some of the sales data you can get now is down to the minute, and it's incredible what you can know about your customers, but how do you look at that in aggregate, and how do you look at that over time, and how does that trend?
And how do you not make the wrong call too soon?
Yes.
Right? It's like,
right?
yeah.
We all want to be knee-jerk
Yeah.
and make that immediate decision.
Interesting. Well, it was great talking to you
too.
today here
Thank
at
you.
Possible. Thank you for joining us in our Content Cabana, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.
Me too. Thank you.